Hi, welcome back. In today's video I want to talk about Brasília. So Brasília is the capital city of Brazil, and it's quite a big city. It's got 2.8 million inhabitants, and it's located in the central part of Brazil in its own mini-state or federal district called Distrito Federal. So this city is far away from the coast and the nice beaches of Brazil. You need to take a flight to like Rio de Janeiro or the northeast of Brazil to get to the beaches, and that's like a flight of over 2 hours. Now Brasília is quite a new city. It was constructed in the 1950s. It became the capital of Brazil in 1960. And before that it was the city of Rio de Janeiro that was the capital, and before that it was the city of Salvador. And the reason why they moved the capital city to Brasília was to move the capital away from the densely populated coastal area to a more central area in Brazil. And this city is very different to most other cities in Brazil because it's been newly constructed, so it's planned. And if you look at the city from above, it's in the shape of an airplane. So you can see the body of the plane and also the wings. And also it's got a fairly big lake in the center of the city, which is called Lago Paranoa. And this is an artificial lake which they created using water from Rio Paranoa, which flows nearby. So with Brasília being the capital, this is where all the government buildings are. So the president, all the politicians, all the Supreme Court judges, they're all based here in Brasília. So one of the most famous landmarks in Brasília is the Praça de Três Poderes, so the Park of the Three Powers. So in this area you've got the Palacio de Planalto, so this is the workplace for the President of Brazil. Then you've also got the Supremo Tribunal Federal, so the Supreme Court. And then the third building in this Praça de Três Poderes is the Congresso Nacional, where you've got all the senators and your deputies. You've got an upper house for the senators and a lower house for the deputies. Because everything's been planned, these buildings are all kind of spaced out with lots of open fields and grass around them, and we're also with some really big highways as well. And also close to this Praça de Três Poderes you've got loads of other government buildings, so you kind of see all these buildings that you see here along the big highway are just various government departments. So you got a Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Finances, Ministry of Agriculture, Education. They've all got their own building along this highway. Apart from lots of government buildings, there are also some other nice attractions in Brasília. So they've got a cathedral. It's called the Catedral Metropolitana Nossa Senhora Aparecida. It doesn't look too impressive from the outside, but then if you go down into it, I think it's really pretty, really colourful, and you're a bit surprised actually when you walk in here how nice it is. Then there are various museums in the city as well. One of the big ones is the Panteão de Pátria de Liberdade Tancredo Neves. So this is dedicated to all the national heroes of Brazil. Then you've also got lots of nice parks in the city as well. One of the big parks is the Parque de Cidade Dona Sara Kubitschek. It's a massive park in the city. It's got a small artificial lake, lots of infrastructure for various sports, volleyball, football, beach tennis, and lots of things for the kids as well. So this is a really nice park. Brasília has also got a zoo, so Jardim Zoológico de Brasília, and it's pretty big and again very nice. And one of the areas that I really like is Pontão do Lago Sul. So this is a really nice area along the lake where you can go for a nice walk. They've got lots of nice restaurants and kiosks, and people go there to exercise and to have lunch and dinner, and then they've got shows as well in this area. So that's one of my favorite places in Brasília. And with Brasília being a capital, it's full of foreign embassies. So I think it's got like 130 foreign embassies, but it's different to many capital cities where you have embassies just in some small buildings in the center of the city. Now here they kind of again planned it all. So So most embassies have these big buildings with lots of land around the buildings, with big gardens and swimming pools and tennis courts and football pitches and stuff. Nearly all of them are situated in the same areas, which is the north and south zone. And when I went to Brazil, I actually found it quite fun just driving around, looking at embassy after embassy after embassy, and the nice buildings and really massive, nice gardens they have, which is quite unique, I think, for a capital city. And then in terms of the infrastructure of the city, so in general, infrastructure is pretty good. Lots of public hospitals and schools, which are rated pretty good, and then obviously lots of private schools as well and hospitals. The city has a university which is called the Universidade de Brasília, UNB, and this is one of the top ranked universities in Brazil. And then the city has lots of shopping malls. You go shopping at Brasília, shopping in Iguatemi, and a couple of others. In general, the road system's pretty good. The roads are pretty big because they've been planned. I mean, there's still a fair bit of traffic jams and stuff in the morning. And actually, Brasília reminds me a bit of some US cities, because people are pretty reliant on their cars to travel around Brasília. The city is not the most friendly for pedestrians and cyclists. Most people are reliant on their cars. And then the climate of Brasília, I think they classify it as a dry tropical climate, and it definitely is pretty dry. So I'm used to the south of Brazil, so Santa Catarina, Rio Grande do Sul, and in this region it's very humid, rains a lot, while in Brasília it's totally different. It's a lot drier and there's less rain. In terms of temperatures, in summertime it usually gets up to like 30 degrees. Now and again it might increase a bit more than that, and in winter it gets down to like 15, maybe 10, but not all winters. So it never gets really cold, and there's just less fluctuations in temperature compared to the south where I live. While down, because here in the south you can get, you know, close to 0 degrees in winter, but in summer it can go up to like 35 degrees or even higher. And then the economy of the city is no real surprise. It's totally focused on the government. So you've got lots of government public workers in the city working for the federal government or the local government. And apparently around 25% of the workforce in Brasília works for the government. And like I showed before, you've got all these office buildings just for these government workers. And here in Brazil in general, not just in Brasília but in the whole country, people who work for the government, they earn on average more than the person who works in the private sector, which was a surprise for me, because that's definitely not the case in Sweden. So the average for someone who works for the government is 4,000 reais, or $800 per month, while the average salary for someone who works in the private sector is 2,000 reais, which is $400. This is an average, and that includes, you know, the unskilled to the skilled, and there are many who earn very well in the private sector as well, especially in Sao Paulo. But it just shows that the government pays higher salaries for its workers than the private sector does in general. So a lot of Brazilians, when they grow up and study, they kind of want to work for the government because they're able to earn a higher salary. And I know a couple of friends who work for the government. In general, they're not very happy though, so I don't know if it is the right plan to work for the government or not. They complain a lot about bureaucracy and things being very slow to get done and stuff, but I've got no first-hand experience of this. And because of these high salaries for public workers, Brasília is quite a rich city. So if you look at kind of average income, Brasília is at the top of the list with the highest average salary, above Sao Paulo and Rio de Janeiro. And apart from the government, Brasilia does have some other industries, so it's got some IT and technology industry, and then also construction and service. Most of these other industries are also connected to government. So for example, lots of banks have big offices in Brasilia, again to service the government, and also the postal service has a big office in Brasilia. News organizations have fairly big offices here as well, because they're constantly filming outside the president's office and so on reporting on news from the government. So kind of most industries kind of lead back to the government somehow. But with these higher salaries, the cost of living as well is fairly high in Brasilia. So, no, it's not as high as living in Sao Paulo and Rio, that's for sure. There you really feel the high cost of living. But in Brasilia it's a bit lower than that. But comparing it to other cities, it's relatively high. And in terms of housing and how much that costs, so Brasilia again is fairly expensive. So not as expensive as Sao Paulo and Rio, but still pretty high. So if we look at this website here, which I really like, you can see that the price per square meter in Sao Paulo is nearly 10,000, Rio de Janeiro as well. But then if you go down to Brasilia, it's 8,000. So it's definitely lower than Sao Paulo, Rio. And it's also lower actually than Florianopolis here at 9,000, but much higher than most of the other cities, Curitiba, Salvador, Porto Alegre. And if we just look at some specific apartments and houses, so if you just choose apartments, 2-bedroom apartments in Brasilia, so you got simple small apartments kind of away from the city center and okay areas, which you can kind of buy for like 200,000 reais, so that's $40,000. So these are 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 1 parking space, but only 45 square meters, which is roughly 500 square feet, so pretty small. But then you've got bigger apartments in nice areas. For example, this here, bigger, it's 65-70 square meters, which is 700-800 square feet, and it's in much a nicer area, so it's in Águas Claras, and that's 600,000 reais, so that's $120,000. So you can spend like $40,000 to over $100,000 on a 2-bedroom apartment. And in terms of houses, again a big mix here depending on where you want to live. So you've got houses for less than $500,000 reais, so less than $100,000. Some aren't the nicest, but it's possible to get like a 3-bedroom house, okay area, for like $500,000-600,000 reais, so $100,000-120,000. But if you want a bigger house in a nice area, then they're going to be over $1 million reais, $200,000, and maybe even close to 2 million reais. So you've got some nice houses here for like 1.5 million, nearly 2 million reais, 4 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms, so very big houses in Jardim Botânico, which is a nice area, and also a Parkway, again nice area. You've got like a house in Parkway here, 3 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms. They love their bathrooms, don't they? So 3 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms for 1.5 million reais, so that's $300,000. But if you want to be in the really nice areas and have something slightly bigger, then you're paying $200,000 or more for a property. Okay, so I hope you found this useful. So I've never lived in Brasilia. I just have one friend who lives there, and so I went to visit them. And I mean, my own opinion is I would not live in Brasilia, that's for sure. I mean, the city is just kind of situated out there in the middle of nowhere, and just focus on the government basically. And there isn't that much to do in the city. And if you want to go somewhere else, like the coast or anything, then you need to take a plane. So for me, I'm happy to be living here in the south, close to the beach, and being close to some other big cities as well. And also I'm not a big fan of kind of this dry climate that Brasilia has. But obviously that's just my personal opinion. So if you like this video, please leave a like, subscribe. If you've got any questions or anything, leave a commentary below. So thanks for watching, until next time.